Hey everyone, let me ask you something. Why do the rich keep getting richer while everyone else struggles? Why doesn't school teach us anything about money? Why do most people work their entire lives and never achieve financial freedom? And most importantly, how can an ordinary person build real wealth? If you've ever asked yourself these questions, you're in the right place. Today we're breaking down one of the most influential personal finance books ever written. Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. This book has sold over 45 million copies worldwide and completely changed how millions of people think about money. Robert Kiyosaki is an entrepreneur, investor, and financial educator who learned about money from the father figures, his biological father, a highly educated government employee who struggled financially, and his best friend's father, a successful entrepreneur who became one of the richest men in Hawaii. This book shares the lessons he learned from both. So what exactly will we cover in this audio? First, you'll hear the story of two dads and their completely opposite philosophies about money, work, and life. Then we'll dive deep into the 6 core lessons that separate the wealthy from everyone else. Lessons about assets versus liabilities, why you should stop working for money, how to make money work for you, and the real financial education schools never teach. Finally, you'll get practical steps you can start applying immediately to transform your financial future. This audio is perfect for anyone who wants to break free from the paycheck-to-paycheck cycle, for entrepreneurs building their first business, for investors learning to grow wealth, and for anyone tired of traditional financial advice that keeps you stuck in the rat race. By the end of this audio, you'll understand exactly why the rich get richer. You'll know the critical difference between assets and liabilities that most people completely misunderstand. You'll learn how to build passive income streams, and you'll have a clear roadmap to start building real wealth, no matter where you're starting from. We've structured this into 3 main parts. Part 1 covers the tale of two dads and the first crucial lessons about how rich people think differently. Part 2 dives into the core principles of financial education and building wealth. And Part 3 gives you the practical steps and strategies to overcome obstacles and take action starting today. Alright, let's jump right in. Now let's dive into the first major lesson, which completely flips conventional wisdom on its head. The book starts with a powerful story. When Robert was 9 years old, he and his friend Mike wanted to get rich. They started their first business, melting down used toothpaste tubes to make counterfeit coins. Obviously that didn't work, so Robert asked his educated poor dad how to get rich. His father told him to ask Mike's dad. Rich Dad agreed to teach them, but not in the way they expected. He hired them to work in one of his convenience stores for 10 cents an hour. And this was back when 10 cents was already almost nothing. After 3 weeks of working every Saturday for hours, Robert got frustrated and wanted to quit. That's exactly what Rich Dad was waiting for. He taught them a critical lesson. Most people work for money and are controlled by 2 emotions: fear and greed. Fear of not having enough money makes them get up and go to work every day. Then greed makes them want more things, which requires more money, which means more work. It's an endless cycle that Rich Dad called the rat race. Poor people and middle-class people work for money. They get a paycheck, pay their bills, and if there's anything left, they spend it or save it in a bank account, earning minimal interest. They trade their time for money. There is a ceiling on how much they can earn because there are only so many hours in a day. Rich people make money work for them. They acquire or build assets that generate income whether they're working or not. This is called passive income. Instead of being employees or self-employed professionals who must work to earn, they build systems and investments that produce cash flow. Think about it this way. If you work as a lawyer and make $100 an hour, you might think you're doing well. But you only get paid when you work. If you stop working, the money stops. That's not freedom. That's a high-paying job. But if you own an apartment building, that generates $5,000 a month in rental income after expenses. That money comes in whether you're working, sleeping, or on vacation. That's passive income. That's making money work for you. Rich Dad's point was simple. Don't spend your life working for money. Instead, Learn how to acquire and build assets that generate money for you. The rich focus on building their asset column. Everyone else focuses on working harder for a bigger paycheck. This brings us to the second and perhaps most important lesson in the entire book: financial literacy. Rich Dad said that if you want to be rich, you must be financially literate. You need to understand the difference between assets and liabilities. Here's the definition that changes everything. An asset is something that puts money in your pocket. A liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. That's it. Forget complicated accounting definitions. If it brings money in, it's an asset. If it takes money out, it's a liability. This simple definition reveals why so many educated, hardworking people struggle financially. They acquire liabilities thinking they're assets. The biggest example, your house. Most people believe their home is their greatest asset. Rich Dad says that's wrong. If you live in your house and it costs you money every month in mortgage payments, property taxes, utilities, maintenance, and insurance, it's not an asset, it's a liability. It takes money out of your pocket every month. Now, if you own rental properties that generate more income than their expenses, those are assets. If you buy a house, live in it for free by renting out rooms, and pocket the extra income, now it's an asset. The question isn't what you own, but whether it generates income or costs you money. Real assets include businesses that operate without you needing to be there, stocks that pay dividends, bonds that pay interest, real estate that generates rental income, intellectual property like patents or royalties, and anything that generates positive cash flow. Common liabilities that people mistake for assets include the house you live in, cars, boats, expensive watches, and jewelry, anything bought on credit that loses value, and basically anything that costs you money to own. The rich focus on acquiring assets. The poor and middle class focus on acquiring liabilities while thinking they're assets. Look at the typical pattern. Someone gets a raise or a promotion. They immediately upgrade their lifestyle. Bigger house, nicer car, more expensive habits. Their expenses rise to match or exceed their income. They accumulate more liabilities disguised as success symbols. Meanwhile, their asset column remains empty. Rich Dad taught Robert to read financial statements, the income statement and balance sheet. Most people only think about their income statement, how much they make and how much they spend. But the real game is played on the balance sheet, assets versus liabilities. Your wealth isn't determined by how much you make, but by how many income-generating assets you own. Here's a practical exercise you can do right now. List everything you own. Then honestly ask yourself, does this put money in my pocket or take money out? That car payment, that streaming subscription, that gym membership you never use, those are all taking money out. Now ask yourself, what assets do I own that generate income? For most people, that list is very short or completely empty. That's the problem the rich have solved and everyone else hasn't. Lesson 3 is one of the most misunderstood concepts in personal finance. The difference between your profession and your business. Most people confuse these two things. Your profession is what you do to earn a paycheck. You're a teacher, an engineer, a doctor, a salesperson. That's your job. But your business is something entirely different. Your business is your asset column. Your business is what generates income for you without requiring your constant presence and effort. Here's what typically happens. Someone becomes successful in their profession. They get promotions, raises, bigger titles. So what do? They increase their spending to match their income. Bigger house, luxury car, expensive vacations. They're working harder than ever, making more money than ever. But they're no richer because they're not building their asset column. They're building someone else's business, their employer's business. Rich Dad's advice was clear. Keep your day job, but start building your own business on the side. Your profession pays your bills. Your business builds your wealth. Use the income from your job to acquire income-generating assets. Don't quit your job to start a business unless you have a solid plan and sufficient assets to support yourself. Instead, Work your job while simultaneously building your asset column. Robert Kiyosaki shares a brilliant example about McDonald's. Ray Kroc, the founder, once spoke at a business school and asked the students what business McDonald's is really in. Everyone said fast food or hamburgers. Kroc laughed and said, "I'm not in the hamburger business. I'm in the real estate business." McDonald's real wealth doesn't come from selling burgers. It comes from owning the real estate under each franchise location. That's the asset that generates ongoing wealth. So how do you start minding your own business? First, keep your profession. Your job is your income source while you build assets. Second, start small with whatever capital you have. Buy your first rental property. Start an online business. Invest in dividend-paying stocks. Create intellectual property. Build something that generates passive income. Third, reinvest the returns. Don't spend the profits from your assets. Use them to buy more assets. Let compounding work its magic. The key is to focus on acquiring real assets, not liabilities disguised as assets. Before you buy anything, ask yourself, is this going to generate income or cost me money? Will this put money in my pocket every month or take it out? That's how you build a real business while keeping your profession. Lesson 4 reveals something most people don't understand about taxes and why the rich legally pay less than everyone else. Here's a quick history lesson. Taxes weren't always the way they are now. In England and America, there were initially no income taxes. Governments funded themselves through other means. Income tax was introduced as a temporary measure to tax the wealthy. To make the rich pay their fair share, the masses cheered. But here's what happened. Once the government got used to the tax revenue, income taxes became permanent and started applying to everyone, not just the rich. Meanwhile, the rich found legal ways to minimize their tax burden. The wealthy understand something critical. It's not how much you make that matters. It's how much you keep. And the biggest difference isn't salary. It's structure. Employees and self-employed individuals are taxed first and spend what's left. Business owners and investors earn money, spend it on their business and investments, and then get taxed on what's left. That's a massive advantage. Here's how it works in practice. An employee makes $100,000. Taxes get taken out first, maybe $30,000 or more depending on location. They live on what's left, $70,000. A business owner makes $100,000 through their corporation. They spend $50,000 on legitimate business expenses, office space, equipment, business travel, employees' salaries, professional development. They only pay taxes on the remaining $50,000 plus. Corporate tax rates are often lower than personal income tax rates. This is why Rich Dad emphasized the power of corporations. A corporation isn't just for big businesses. It's a legal structure that provides 3 huge benefits. Tax advantages through business deductions, asset protection by separating personal and business assets, and the ability to retain and reinvest earnings at lower tax rates. Rich Dad outlined 4 components of financial IQ that the wealthy master: accounting, which means understanding financial statements and how money flows; investing, which means the science of money; making money, understanding markets, which means knowing supply and demand; and the law, which means using legal structures like corporations and trusts to protect assets and minimize taxes. Let me be clear. This isn't about tax evasion, which is illegal and wrong. This is about tax avoidance, which means using the legal structures and rules that governments have created. The wealthy play by the rules. They just know rules that most people don't. They have accountants and tax advisors who help them navigate the system legally. The information is available to anyone, but most people never learn it because schools don't teach financial literacy. Quick pause. If you're finding this valuable, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button and subscribe for more book breakdowns like this. Drop a comment below and let me know which lesson is hitting home for you. Alright, let's keep going. Lesson 5 is about financial creativity and how the rich generate opportunities instead of waiting for them. Most people operate from a scarcity mindset. They see limited opportunities and believe, you need money to make money. They say things like, I can't afford it. There are no good opportunities here. It's too risky. I don't have enough money to invest. The rich operate from an abundance mindset. They ask, how can I afford it? How can I create this opportunity? How can I minimize risk? How can I get started with what I have? Rich Dad taught that making money is a creative process, not just a mechanical one. The rich literally invent money through financial intelligence and creativity. They see opportunities where others see nothing. They understand how to structure deals, leverage resources, and create value where others can't. Let me give you a real estate example from the book. Robert found a house worth $95,000. The owner needed to sell quickly and offered it for $60,000. Robert didn't have $60,000. So what did he do? He found an investor who would put up the $60,000 in exchange for interest and security. Robert then immediately sold the house for $95,000. He made $35,000 without using any of his own money. That's financial creativity. Another example, he once bought a small condominium that was in foreclosure for $50,000 when it was worth $95,000. He rented it out, generating cash flow that covered his costs plus extra income. 2 years later, the market improved and he sold it for $95,000. He made positive cash flow for 2 years plus $45,000 in profit. The pattern here is clear. The rich don't wait for money to fall in their lap. They learn to see opportunities, understand markets, structure creative deals, leverage other people's money when appropriate, and manage risk intelligently. They develop their financial genius through practice and education. Here's the mindset shift. Stop saying you can't afford something or there are no opportunities. Start asking how you can afford it and how you can create opportunities. That simple shift from statements to questions opens your mind to possibilities. Your financial genius needs a problem to solve. Give it one. The poor and middle class work for money and buy liabilities. The rich create money through financial intelligence and acquire assets. One group sees limitations. The other creates possibilities. Which mindset do you want to adopt? The final core lesson is about why your first job shouldn't be about the salary. It should be about the skills you'll gain. Robert tells a story about meeting a young writer at a seminar. She had talent, but her books weren't selling. When he suggested she learn sales and marketing, she got offended. She said, "I'm a writer, not a salesperson." Robert's response, "That's why you're a starving artist. The world is full of talented people who are broke." What separates the successful from the struggling isn't just talent, it's business skills. Rich Dad believed that financial success requires being good at multiple skills, not just one. He drew a comparison to the letter T. Most people are trained to become specialists. They go deep in one skill. Like the vertical line of a T, they become expert engineers, doctors, or accountants. But they lack the horizontal skills: sales, marketing, communication, leadership, financial literacy. The wealthy develop both deep expertise in something plus broad business skills. Think about it practically. You might be the best software developer in the world, but if you can't sell your services, communicate your value, manage money, or lead a team, you'll always work for someone who can do those things. You'll make them rich while you collect a paycheck. That's why Rich Dad told Robert to work for skills, not money, especially early in his career. Robert worked in sales even though he didn't need the money, because he knew sales was a crucial skill. He joined the Marine Corps to learn leadership. He worked in accounting to understand financial statements. Each job was chosen strategically to add to his skill set. The essential skills the wealthy develop include sales, because revenue is the lifeblood of any business; marketing, because you need to reach customers; communication, because you need to inspire and lead; negotiation, because every deal requires it; basic accounting, because you must understand money flow; leadership, because building wealth requires building teams; and continuous learning, Because markets and technologies constantly change. Here's the practical advice. If you're early in your career, choose positions that teach you valuable skills even if they don't pay the most. If you're established in your career, actively work to fill your skill gaps. Take courses, read books, find mentors. Practice deliberately. Don't just climb the corporate ladder. Build a complete skill set. The poor work for money. The middle class work for security and benefits. The rich work to learn and build skills that generate wealth. Your earning power isn't determined by your current salary. It is determined by your complete skill set and ability to create value in the marketplace. So the question isn't what's your salary, but what are you learning that will make you more valuable tomorrow than you are today? Now that we understand the core principles, let's talk about what stops people from becoming wealthy. Robert identifies 5 major obstacles that keep even smart, educated people from building wealth. Obstacle 1 is fear, specifically the fear of losing money. Everyone has this fear, including the rich. The difference is how they handle it. Most people let fear paralyze them. They play it so safe that they never take any chances. They keep money in savings accounts earning almost nothing because they're terrified of losing it. But here is the truth. Playing it safe is actually the riskiest strategy, because inflation and taxes guarantee you losing purchasing power. The rich feel fear too, but they manage it through education and action. They learn to analyze risks, start small, and build experience. Instead of avoiding risk entirely, they learn to evaluate and manage it. Rich Dad's advice was simple: failure is part of the process. Most rich people have lost money many times. The difference is they got back up and learned from it. Obstacle 2 is cynicism and dealing with doubters. The world is full of people who will tell you why your ideas won't work. Some are well-meaning family members worried about you. Others are cynics who project their own failures onto you. Robert calls these people chicken littles, always predicting doom and gloom. The problem isn't their criticism. It's when you internalize their doubts. Rich Dad taught Robert to listen to his doubts, but not let them control him. Analyze legitimate concerns, but don't let cynicism stop you. Surround yourself with people who encourage growth, not people who drag you down with their negativity. Obstacle 3 is laziness, but not the kind you think. Rich Dad said the most common form of laziness is staying busy. People work 60 hours a week, rush home to family obligations, collapse on the couch watching TV, and call it a full life. They're too busy to think about their finances, too busy to learn about investing, too busy to build their business. This busyness becomes an excuse to avoid addressing their financial problems. The cure for this busy laziness is greed, not the destructive kind, but healthy desire. Ask yourself, what would my life look like if I never had to worry about money? What would I do? Where would I go? Use the desire to motivate action. Rich Dad would say, I want this. Now how do I get it? Instead of I can't afford it. Obstacle 4 is bad habits, especially the habit of paying everyone else before yourself. Most people get paid and immediately pay their bills, mortgage, car payment, credit cards, utilities. If there's anything left, they might save it. Rich Dad said this is backwards. Pay yourself first. Put money toward investments and assets before paying bills. This forces you to work harder, think creatively, and find ways to cover your expenses. It creates positive financial pressure instead of just accepting limitations. When you pay everyone else first, you'll always find a way to spend everything. When you pay yourself first, you'll find ways to make more. Obstacle 5 is arrogance, which Rich Dad defined as ego plus ignorance. It's thinking you know everything when you actually know very little. Many educated people suffer from this. They confuse academic intelligence with financial intelligence. They're too proud to admit what they don't know and too arrogant to learn from others. The cure is humility and curiosity. Every expert was once a beginner. Every wealthy person learned from someone else. The moment you think you know it all is the moment you stop growing. Rich Dad constantly reminded Robert, there is always something you don't know. Stay humble. Keep learning. When you encounter something you don't understand, See it as an opportunity to learn, not a threat to your ego. Robert Kiyosaki outlines 10 practical steps anyone can take to develop their financial genius. Let's go through each one with clear explanations. Step 1. Find a deep reason or purpose. Having a strong why makes the how much easier. Robert's motivation was watching his father struggle financially despite being highly educated. He never wanted that life. What's your reason? Maybe it's providing for your family, achieving freedom to travel, retiring early, or building generational wealth. Write down your reasons. Make them specific and emotional. Read them every morning. When the journey gets hard, your purpose will keep you going. Step 2. Choose daily. Wealth isn't built by one big decision. It's built by thousands of small choices every day. Every time you spend money, you're choosing your financial future. Buy coffee out every day or make it at home and invest the difference. Finance a new car or buy used and invest the savings. Watch TV or spend an hour learning about investing. Rich people choose to invest their time and money. Poor people choose immediate gratification. You make this choice hundreds of times per month. Make it consciously. Step 3. Choose friends carefully. You become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If your friends complain about money, you will too. If they spend everything they earn, you probably will too. Seek out friends who talk about investments, who share opportunities, who encourage your growth. Don't abandon old friends, but actively build relationships with people who are where you want to be financially. Rich Dad told Robert to have both poor friends and rich friends. Learn from both, but spend more time with people who challenge you to grow. Step 4. Master one formula, then learn a new one. Don't try to learn everything at once. Pick one investment strategy, maybe rental real estate, dividend stocks, or building an online business. Study it deeply. Take a course. Read 3 books. Find a mentor. Execute on it until you master it. Once you've built competency and success in one area, then expand to another. The wealthy are experts in everything. They are very good at 1 or 2 things, and surround themselves with experts for the rest. Step 5. Pay yourself first. We covered this in the obstacles, but it's critical enough to repeat as a step. Before you pay any bill, set aside money for investments. Start with whatever you can, even 10% of your income. Put it somewhere you can't easily access and spend. Use it to buy assets. This habit, more than any other, separates those who build wealth from those who don't. It forces discipline and creates positive pressure to find ways to cover your other expenses. Step 6. Pay your brokers well. When you need professionals, real estate agents, investment advisors, accountants, lawyers, pay for quality. Many people try to save money by using the cheapest professionals or doing everything themselves. This is short-sighted. A good broker or advisor can make you far more money than they cost. They have information, connections, and expertise you don't. Rich Dad said, the people who work for you should make you money. If they're not making you more than they cost, find better advisors. Step 7. Be an Indian giver. This is an old term meaning get your money back quickly. Rich Dad's point was that smart investors recover their initial investment as fast as possible, then own assets for free. For example, if you buy a rental property with a mortgage, use the rental income to pay down the mortgage quickly. Once it's paid off, you have an asset generating pure cash flow and your initial investment is recovered. Or if you invest in stocks, take profits strategically to recover your principal, then let the rest ride. The goal is to get your money back and working on the next opportunity, while keeping the assets you've acquired. Step 8. Use assets to buy luxuries. Most people use their income to buy luxuries and wonder why they never build wealth. Reverse this. When you want something expensive, a luxury car, a vacation home, designer clothes, use it as motivation to build assets. Don't buy the luxury until the cash flow from your assets can pay for it. Want a $70,000 car? Great. Build investments that generate enough passive income to cover the car payment, then buy it. This way, you get the luxury and the assets. The luxury becomes a reward for building wealth, not a substitute for it. Step 9. Choose heroes. Find people who have achieved what you want and study them. Read their biographies. Learn their strategies. Model their behaviors. For investing, Robert studied Warren Buffett and Peter Lynch. For real estate, he studied local successful investors. For business, he studied entrepreneurs who built from nothing. Heroes make the difficult look achievable. They prove it's possible and provide a roadmap. Who are your financial heroes? Study them deeply. Step 10. Teach and you shall receive. One of the best ways to learn something is to teach it. When you share knowledge, it deepens your own understanding. Moreover, teaching creates connections and opportunities. Rich Dad believed in giving first. Give money, give knowledge, give time, and you'll receive more back. This isn't mystical, it's practical. The more value you provide to others, the more opportunities come your way. Share what you're learning. Help others on their financial journey. What goes around really does come around. All right, let's wrap this up with the key takeaways and concrete steps you can implement immediately. Here are the top 10 lessons from Rich Dad Poor Dad that can transform your financial life. 1. The rich don't work for money. They make money work for them through assets and passive income streams. 2. Understanding the difference between assets and liabilities is fundamental. Assets put money in your pocket. Liabilities take money out. Most people accumulate liabilities thinking they're building wealth. 3. Mind your own business. Your profession pays your bills, but your business builds your wealth. Keep your job, but start building your asset column. 4. Tax knowledge is power. The wealthy use corporations and legal structures to minimize taxes and maximize wealth retention. This isn't cheating, it's financial intelligence. 5. The rich invent money through creativity and financial intelligence. They don't wait for opportunities, they create them. 6. Work to learn, not just to earn. Your skill set determines your wealth more than your current salary. Build broad business competencies alongside deep expertise. 7. Overcoming fear is essential. Everyone feels fear about losing money, but the rich act despite fear while the poor let fear paralyze them. 8. Financial literacy is the foundation of wealth. You can't build what you don't understand. Invest in your financial education continuously. 9. Take action despite imperfection. Mistakes are the best teachers. Waiting for perfect conditions means never starting. 10. Mindset determines everything. Your thoughts about money, your beliefs about wealth, your attitude toward risk. These shape your financial destiny more than your starting point ever will. Now let's talk about 7 practical steps you can start today. Step 1. Assess your current financial situation honestly. Calculate your net worth. List your assets and liabilities. Track your spending for at least 1 week. You can't improve what you don't measure. Step 2. Clearly separate your assets from your liabilities. Look at everything you own and ask, does this generate income or cost money? Be honest about that house, that car, those subscriptions. Step 3. Plan your first real investment. Research options that match your risk tolerance and starting capital. Maybe it's a dividend stock, a rental property with partners, or starting a side business. Set a deadline to make this happen. Step 4. Begin your financial education immediately. Read 1 book per month. Take an online course. Listen to podcasts. Watch educational content. Commit to becoming financially literate. Step 5. Find a mentor or join a community of like-minded people. Surround yourself with people who are building wealth, not just spending paychecks. Learn from those ahead of you on the journey. Step 6. Develop 3 business ideas you could potentially start. They don't have to be revolutionary. Look for problems you could solve, skills you could monetize, or services people need. Write them down and evaluate them seriously. Step 7. Commit to investing every single month, even if it's a small amount. Automate it if possible. Consistency beats size. Someone investing $200 monthly for 30 years will build more wealth than someone occasionally investing larger amounts to get maximum value. From this book, don't just read or listen once. Revisit these concepts regularly. Rich Dad Poor Dad isn't just information. It's a fundamental shift in how you think about money. That shift doesn't happen overnight. Reread sections that challenge you. Discuss the concepts with others. Apply one lesson at a time until it becomes habit. If Rich Dad Poor Dad resonated with you, here are 7 more books that will deepen your financial education. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, the classic on mindset and wealth creation. That influenced Robert Kiyosaki himself. The Millionaire Next Door by Thomas Stanley, revealing research on how real millionaires actually live and build wealth, often very differently than you'd expect. The Richest Man in Babylon by George Clason, timeless principles of money management, told through ancient parables that are just as relevant today. The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss, challenging conventional career paths and showing how to build lifestyle businesses that give you freedom. Money Master the Game by Tony Robbins, a comprehensive guide to investing and financial planning with insights from the world's top investors. The Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham, Warren Buffett's recommended book on value investing and long-term wealth building through stocks. And Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki himself, the follow-up to Rich Dad Poor Dad. That goes deeper into the 4 ways people earn money and why some build wealth while others don't. Here is my final message to you. Everything you've heard in this audio is useless unless you act. In it, knowledge without action is just entertainment. The gap between where you are financially and where you want to be isn't filled with more information. It's filled with decisive action and consistent habits. You now know what the wealthy know. You understand the principles they use. The only question left is, what will you do with this knowledge? Start small if you must, but start today. Take one action before you go to bed tonight. Maybe it's opening an investment account. Maybe it's listing your assets and liabilities. Maybe it's having a money conversation with your partner. Do something, because here's the truth. 1 year from now, you'll wish you had started today. Don't let that be your reality. Make today the day you decided to take control of your financial future. If you found this breakdown valuable, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. I'm breaking down the most influential books on wealth, business, and personal development, and you won't want to miss what's coming next. Speaking of which, next week we will be diving into either Atomic Habits by James Clear, The Definitive Guide to Building Systems That Create Lasting Change, or The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel, which explores why people make irrational financial decisions and how to avoid those mistakes. Let me know in the comments which one you want first. And while you're down there, I'd love to hear from you. What's your biggest financial goal right now? Which lesson from Rich Dad Poor Dad will you implement first? And if you could start any business tomorrow, what would it be? Drop your answers below. I read every comment, and your input helps shape future content. Thank you for investing this time in your financial education. Remember, the rich get richer not because they're smarter or luckier, but because they understand principles that can be learned. You just learn them. Now go build your wealth. I'll see you in the next one.